Good morning to you all, and welcome to another edition of the Sal Greco Show, and I'm your host, Sal Greco. Thank you all for being here. Hope everyone had a good weekend. There's a lot to talk about. WrestleMania was also this weekend, but if you're watching us on Rumble, on the Sal Greco Show channel, please hit that like button, hit the Rumble button. Also follow us there if you'd like. If you're watching us on YouTube right now on the Sal Greco Show channel, also like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Of course, there's a lot of updates that happen on that channel. And of course, if you're watching us on X, streaming all over the world on the Sal Greco handle, please hit that like button, share this out to all your friends, especially those in the low information bubble. And also don't forget to follow us on there as well. There's a lot to discuss, right? And good morning right now to Frankie Palaguacci, $9.99 to the Sal Greco Show. Says, never lower your standards to match a Joe Cop. Your truth and your light are what raised the standard. Thank you, Frankie. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, and there's a few. I mean, I don't discuss, the ad hominem attacks because it's just beneath me and the show to do that. But there are some issues to be tackled. James Jordan says, go get him, Sal. Good to see you there. See Hunter NY, Baby Lou. So we're going to start. We'll go backwards. So first off, I had some updates on things. So we'll play the video first, and then I'm going to have Jack come in, and we'll be going back and forth with a few things. There's a lot to talk about. So the first thing was you found out a lot more about the Brooklyn Megillah, right? The Brooklyn North narcotics thing. And we found out that obviously what I had said was over 90% of that ends up becoming true. But there was also the fact of they had someone in custody. Apparently, they also arrested another person that it is unknown if there's a voided arrest that was done. The police department is stating that they don't have a voided arrest. It's just, I don't know. But I want to play this. Jack, find it says that's the second one. It's the first one. Then there's the second one. Because, like I said, the initial report was that what we were saying Thursday, and then all of this stuff came. So let's play this one by one. Here's the first one. Reporting to you from Miami Beach, where the infamous Scarface chainsaw scene was filmed. We have some news for you in regards to the two detectives and the sergeant that were involved in an incident on Baltic Street and Hoyt Street in Brooklyn with Brooklyn North Narcotics. The detectives have now been suspended, and the sergeant has been modified. It appears that the state attorney general is looking into this, as well as the Brooklyn DA office, and there's whispers of the DOJ in this as well. This is a Megillah. Also, looks like Iran has now opened the strait. So kudos to the president for actually making this almost work. Last but not least, we have come to find out that allegedly the New York City Police Department has a 24/7 foot post at the residence of the soccer mom, Miss Jessica Tish's brother's home. Why there is a foot post 24/7 security in front of her brother's home, we don't know. But are the New York City taxpayers paying for this? What is the reasoning behind that? I mean, look into the Tish family. I mean, there's some associations with a now deceased unscrupulous billionaire. I don't know what's going on there, but why are the taxpayers? Are they funding this? Soccer mom, this is another Friday fiasco. A reporting. So that was the first video. So before we go to the second one, just to reflect real quick, there is a foot post apparently in the New York City Police Department in front of the soccer mom, Jessica Tish's brother's house. Remember, the brother, I don't know which brother it is, but, they aren't too fond of the mayor and said a couple of things. But I think they privately might have donated money to the campaign somewhat, somewhere, allegedly. But there is a 24/7 foot post in front of the residence. Now, why are taxpayers paying for that? I don't know. But that was something that was a little, news bit from the Sal Greco show, and his silence from the soccer mom on that. And I think people should know your tax money is going to some foot posts. Now, remember, with all the manning problems we have in the New York City Police Department, where they're understaffed, and we'll get to an incident that happened where clearly they don't have people in the prison, and that's why there's chaos and crime in the street. You're taking a cop away from somewhere to put them there for what exactly, I don't know. So keep that one in mind, because that was something that I understand she went berserk. That was no one was supposed to find out other than whoever it is that they abused by sending them there. So that was one of the tidbits. But so then we had the next video, which was a news update. There was two of them actually. So let's play this one.
An update in the Brooklyn North narcotics Megillah case. The two detectives were suspended. The sergeant was modified, but the entire unit was transferred, and they are now looking into it as far up as the chief of detectives, Chief Kenny. Also, in a report by Maisha Saidi from CBS, apparently there was another individual that was also arrested in this case. How can you ghost ID 3 separate people as the perpetrator while you already have the actual perpetrator in custody? Very interesting, but let's check this report out.
Timothy Brown was wrongfully arrested by the NYPD. Did it happen to this guy too?
What were you ordering?
I was ordering the bacon, egg, and cheese. And the officer grabbed me and said you was arrested and just put me in handcuffs and dragged me out.
Ronald Maxwell says he was picked up at a store near Baltic and Hoyt. And as you've seen by now, this was happening to Timothy Brown at a liquor store also near Baltic and Hoyt. You see one of the officers is wearing a black cap. Ronald says that is the same officer that arrested him.
You eventually go to the precinct, then what happens?
I didn't get charged. I didn't get no fingerprints. They let me out the back door.
According to the NYPD, police were looking for a suspect associated with a drug sale, someone wearing green shorts.
What were you wearing?
I was wearing green Adidas, a dark green Adidas tracksuit.
Remember, the green shorts is what led police to Brown as well. I reached out to the NYPD about these claims, and a spokesperson told me that they do not have an arrest on file. I also spoke with a former NYPD lieutenant, Darren Porcher. He says that doesn't mean that the arrest didn't happen. In fact, it's called a voided arrest. When you take someone in and then you release them, you determine that was not the person you were looking for. Many times there will not be an arrest on file.
Yeah, there should be a voided arrest done. Of course, we don't know if there was a voided arrest done. And for those who ask about the letting out the back door, well, in the past, they would, if they do a sweep and they arrest the wrong person, they do a voided arrest. And they let you out through the front, actually. So, again, I don't know what that means. But they clearly did arrest another person that the NYPD was stating we don't have a record of, which means that voided arrest, was it done? Because they would have a record of a voided arrest. So that becomes a problem and shows originally, like I said, with the ghost, allegedly. This is the person that ID'd the guys you're looking for, or the guy you're looking for. Now you're saying they were looking for a guy in green shorts, but you have a guy with green pants. So now the story starts to conflict. It's turning in on itself, right? And the same two guys brought in, I guess, the same people, this one and the other gentleman, Timothy Brown. So then we had the final video for this incident. So let's play this.
Thanks to Masha Saidi from CBS News, who has now provided the public with a video of the arrest from the liquor store in regards to the Brooklyn Megillah with Brooklyn North Narcotics, where they arrested Timothy Brown falsely. It seems that there's a few words being exchanged. Here it is. You guys decide, now that you know the full details.
This surveillance video from inside the store was obtained by WCBS and is part of the NYPD's internal investigation. Okay, so here's the very start of the video. You see Mr. Brown right there. He goes down the aisle. I'm keeping it horizontal. Those are the two witnesses right there. I don't believe this video has been seen before, so I'm playing it all out. And here are the two officers that walk in, making contact with Mr. Brown, trying to place him under arrest. You see the witnesses. Notice something's happening. And you see what's happening here. We have seen this part before. They are recording at this point, the witnesses, and punches are being thrown. It's getting increasingly violent. And Mr. Brown hits the bottles. We have seen that before. And replaying it again, just for you to see the very start of it. Mr. Brown goes down that aisle. I just want to show you the moment when the officers come, and when they first made contact, a lot of people were like, well, what happened before the cell phone video? Here it is. As soon as we got it, we're bringing it to you, and here are the officers. And there they are making contact with Mr. Brown. Okay.
Again, I don't know what was said there. If they even announced themselves, I don't know. You can't hear anything on the video. Clearly, everyone was asking what happened in the first 5-10 seconds, whatever it is, prior to the video going on. Obviously, everyone else in the store has no idea who they are or what's going on. So the witnesses that are still stating that they never announced themselves and never said anything, that's still going to stand. So this thing it's a mess. It's a real Megillah, right? See Jason Goodman, shout out to Jason, said the fraternal order of free and accepted airbags is up in arms over this show. There's your humor for the day. Also, Lone Silence said, be thankful this did not happen on St. Patty's Day. Everyone colored wearing green would have been put up by these coops. I don't know, but this is the whole thing. Again, they transferred out the whole unit. You knew something was going to happen, and again, this should go all the way up to the top because, like I said, Chief Kenny is being looked at all the way up there because now there's three things I can name off the top of my head, and he's the chief of detectives for. The Electric Zoo scandal, right? That whole thing, which again featured a chat room, and then they end up that they want to blame Joel Ramirez for everything who wasn't even working and wasn't there or involved in the group chat, right? Then there was the Manhattan North narcotics WhatsApp chat where it's all kinds of crazy stuff in that chat, and they're out policing, and you don't know how they're policing. Well, you could assume that some people might say, hey, there might be a method to their madness from the chat, right? And there's discrimination with people coming in and out of there. That's what's been alleged of who's going in the unit, who's going out of the unit. And now we have this, the Brooklyn North narcotics, where the biggest problem, again, besides what you saw, the supervision allowing these guys to go out without a radio and communicate via WhatsApp. That is why everything happened the way it did. Because, again, you need to communicate with your division and with your unit. And you definitely need to have extra people around. Oh, yeah, the guys already had arrested the right guy. So it's just chaos because of supervision. So now I'm going to have the producer, the co-host, the wingman, Jack Stern, enter. Now that you know a lot more about this, and there's another incident that happened.
Two more incidents that happened when you consider the street racing fiasco.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that
more
one
on
too.
that momentarily.
But now that you know a lot more, you saw the video, right? I think they got him on video. They kicked. It wasn't his. They're saying he didn't kick his head. He was kicking his hands, but it's in the vicinity of his head. And of course, the other officer had his weight on the guy, so he can't turn over. It's just the whole thing is a mess. It all starts with the failure of the supervision. You let me
and this is, I'm really sick and tired of, and this is not a knock against you, Sal. It's not a knock against anyone on social media who's commentating on the video, but I'm really sick and tired of seeing videos of rank and file officers struggling with a perpetrator or a suspect. In this case, this person was originally misidentified, so he was a suspect, but like they're struggling to arrest people. They get hung out to dry and crushed on social media. Everyone's calling for them to be fired. The department feels like they need to do something because of the public pressure on them to hold those involved accountable. So they suspend them, they modify them, whatever they want to do. They transferred every single person in that unit, even though they weren't personally responsible. And then there's really no changes to the structural leadership that led to this happening in the first place. I can guarantee that the new people that are being transferred into that unit, probably from other precincts, still won't have radios. They're still going to be using WhatsApp. The protocol didn't change at all. They just moved some bodies around to try and make it look like they were doing something, but the same issues are still brimming beneath the surface. And God forbid there's another suspect who's misidentified in the confines of that precinct, because if the officers struggle to arrest him, or the detectives in this case struggle to arrest him, they're going to be hung out to dry too. So really, I understand where everyone's coming from in terms of their anger and frustration, but we need to really evaluate the situation in totality and identify correctly that there's a lot of problems here.
Yeah, the incident in itself, the whole thing, the way it was handled, like I said, the totality of the circumstances. Now, again, I'm not the judge of what's to occur. I am not condemning. He's right, he's wrong. There's a lot of things that look outrageous on the video. But again, a lot of this stuff, is it your protocols, procedure, training? Are you following the case law? Clearly, there's a lot of things that they're not.
Yeah, by the way, where in the patrol guide does it explicitly say if you're not giving a radio, use WhatsApp? Like, you know, I mean, that's really where I sympathize with the detective. Now, I've seen a million encounters, I'm sure you have during your time on the job too, Sal, where cops do act unprofessional towards civilians, cursing them out, telling them to shut up, telling them to go away, whatever. I'm not excusing that, but just imagine how high, you've been in scenarios like this, Sal. Imagine how high your stress level would be if your partner is trying to pin someone down. You don't have a radio. Nobody's answering the WhatsApp. At one point, I don't know if people noticed this from the video, but I noticed it rewatching it the third time. When he tried to call backup, the call dropped because he didn't have any phone reception in the liquor store. He actually went outside to regain reception. So just put yourself in that gentleman's shoes for a moment and imagine how stressed out you would be cursing people out. And the stress that he's facing from that one instance is inevitably going to carry over too, because these two guys were veterans, both of them with over a decade on the job. So you can really see the toll of the psychological stress coming into play.
Yeah, they started putting up things about their history of, they've been in and out of, excessive force complaints. Yeah. So they might use that against them as far as the NYPD, internal stuff goes. But again, the root of this problem, and their behavior and the actions, I don't know. Has this happened in the past? Have they been doing this in the past? I can't answer those things. I see it as a breakdown of supervision. Where was the team leader also? That's the lieutenant. Is he off? Is he working? Is he in that chat room? Is he okay with them going out with no radio? Is the XO, which is the executive officer, okay with this? Is the commanding officer? Or everyone's going to play the old, I didn't see anything.
Well, the sergeant literally opened up the door and then he slammed it back shut. So it was... And this is the other problem that I want to bring up. It seems like, we could talk about this all day and we won't because we'd be here for hours. But every time an executive is in hot water with something their subordinates did, they want no part of the situation. They don't want to explain what happened. They don't want to talk about why they acted in the way they did. They don't want to take sides because God forbid they take one side and there's overwhelming opinion on the other side that drowns out the noise of the counter argument. So at some point, a commanding officer, in this case, is Mark Vasquez. Where are you, bro? You haven't issued a statement. Your precinct hasn't said anything on X. There's been no communication. We haven't been guaranteed that this isn't going to happen again. this probably isn't even being mentioned at any ComStat meetings because it's so far beneath everyone there that they don't even want to discuss it. Like, when are you guys going to identify that the tactical usage of force here is not being deployed properly? That's really the problem. There's no communication. Situations are not being managed well in totality, and the bosses in charge are doing nothing to take any form of accountability. As a matter of fact, they're trying to hide from accountability because they're not discussing it at all. And I can guarantee if these cops are being blamed of using excessive force, they're going to try and take the sides of the community activists saying, well, I never told them to do that, even though they sent them to arrest an individual that was misidentified and there was no clarification that he was actually the wrong person. Even though that didn't happen at all, he's still going to take the activist side. And this is why members of the rank and file are so furious, because they're getting no support. Like, I can guarantee in a best case scenario, Detective Algerio, who's detaining the suspect here, would have loved to have let him go had he learned that it was the wrong person that he was detaining. There was no way of communicating that. How do you expect
also people, again, if you're going to discipline them or you want to go after them, remember there was a Lieutenant Stephanopoulos who we showed on the show about a year ago, who literally on a car stop opened the door and had his gun out, and all of a sudden when the guy opens the door, he gets him on the ground, the guy's clearly not even moving, kicks him in the face repeatedly, and he was only modified. So you can't treat each incident differently, because then that will give grounds to saying, this is what I'm talking about. You treat everything different. For all the Joe cops out there, oh, what you're doing is hard. No. This is why there's a disconnect between the community and the police, because the Joe coppers want to just, like I said, handcuff a suspect and then beat him up and then shoot him on live TV and say, back the blue. The Joe coppers are going to have a banner with the rest of the hair back saying it's all okay, because they don't want you to uncover the awful truth about what is going. If this never gets discussed, this never comes out, it's just going to keep going until someone gets killed. And then it's the officer's fault. No. This is the fault of nobody nicks things in the butt, and you treat things differently, as in one incident is different than the next, right? But you're going to treat, so two incidents are similar. There's kicks, there's the extrajudicial punishment, and then we go, but we're not going to go after that guy because he knows people or whatever the case is, right? With Stephanopoulos. But here, we're gonna destroy these people. That's the New York City Police Department's fault. And I don't care who's the police commissioner. That's the culture, right? And you can't cover up for the culture. That's why we're in this position we're in, because you treat people differently depending on who they know or what they know. And I mean, he said the CEO should be setting the tone on what's not going to be.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. I usually don't address crazy comments, but someone saying the commander of Brooklyn North has nothing to do with these detectives. Get your facts straight. No, that's not true at all. He's their direct supervisor. If Sal and I are working on a sales team and we're both 50% below our quota for the month on April 20th, we're getting crucified by our boss. Why is that not happening in the NYPD? It's so unindicative of the real world that I can't possibly understand it. And then you have people in the comments saying, oh, he's the commander, he's not in charge. So if they're on the detective squad and they have a lieutenant commander and there's a commanding officer, the lieutenant commander has a boss too. The boss's boss is the one who can be traced back to being responsible for most of these problems, if we're being honest, because they're the one in charge of supervision. Did Mark Vasquez think for a second, oh, maybe I should lobby to have these guys given radios because that's the way things have always been, and they're going to have a tough time communicating with people if they don't have them? Or was he just hearing from some 2 or 3 star chief, yeah, we're going to experiment not using radios because it's intimidating the community? And he just said, okay, boss, cool. Okay, boss, sounds good. He didn't say, no, my men are going to be in a compromised position. They're not going to be able to communicate with one another, and it puts them in a bad place. He didn't say that once. Otherwise, things would have unfolded differently.
To his defense, I could tell you that at that level, because he's the borough chief,
all employees in the unbit are accountable. Everyone is. I say the supervisors are the most accountable.
He may not know what's going on underneath him. He should know that's what's going on, but he may not know. That would be giving a guy an out. But as the borough chief, since there's a detective bureau at fault, the detective bureau, like Chief Kenny, should know everything that's going on underneath him because he's in charge of just detectives. versus Mark Vasquez, who's in charge of the whole borough of Brooklyn North. Now, should he know about things, whether this trickles all the way up or not? There's going to be a lot to play with. But I want to get to a couple of comments. Lone Signs, imagine if they were trying to arrest a perp with a weapon, not having a radio, needing to reach someone via WhatsApp. That's what I've said.
Did they ever think about that possibility when they were weighing this option?
And no help. You're not getting any help. Forget about your own team. You wouldn't have the precinct cops would show up if you would say, I need a few units. They're coming in like, I don't know, 30 seconds. That you can't. Hello? You're screaming out and there's no one to listen to because you have no radio. And right here, WJCDS says there was a time that the detective bureau was never involved in any kind of scandal. Leadership is the issue along with experience, leaving the job, police experience, and life experience. He hit the nail on the head. I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. I'm screaming. No one has. Look, people are going to mess up. We're not here to, critique the mess up Monday morning quarterback. It's who is in charge. Because if you're in charge, again, this whole police department, it's from the top down, not the bottom up, right? You're in charge. How are you letting these guys work with no radio? How do you know what's even going on out there? WhatsApp, there's times where it says like connecting on the top. It doesn't even, you don't even receive a message. It could be.
I don't even trust it for a fantasy football group chat. That's how bad the technology is.
I can't believe you're using this for law enforcement purposes, which, by the way, your phone becomes evidence in criminal cases. Does anyone not know the laws and discovery law? It's unbelievable, the intellect level of some that just want to say, you're living in the past. You're living in I got away with something. No, this is right here, right now. The people have spoken. They're sick of this kind of these actions and behavior. When you you start, ripping this up layer by layer by layer, it all leads back to the leadership who's in charge. Because why would this be allowed? And how far does this go? And I'm the one, listen, are they going to have to atone for their mistakes? Are they, is this investigation? Yeah, there's nothing you could do. They're going to have to answer for their own actions. But clearly, there's a supervisor that let them go out without a radio and thinks that this is how you're supposed to do things. And if this is a standard practice, method in narcotics, then that's a problem. And it goes all the way to the top. And that's exactly what the police department is looking at right now. And there is the Brooklyn DA, looking at it just a couple of steps behind the police department. And there is the state attorney general's office. That's a couple of steps behind that. And then, of course, on top, like a puppeteer, is the DOJ. And the DOJ is looking at this saying, what do we have here? Is there any kind of civil rights violations that are federal? Because that's usually what a civil rights violation is, a federal case. So, unfortunately, that's what everybody that's in this situation is now stuck with, and they're going to have to face. And the whole unit this happened a couple of years ago. The police department usually does when there's some kind of huge scandal or some kind of big incident, they move the whole unit out. So that was to be expected. Of course, there's going to be people that had absolutely nothing to do with that and weren't involved. Those people, hopefully they all got soft landing spots and they'll be, but again, who is in charge of this and let this go on for this long, at least 3 weeks, probably, I don't know, might be more, who knows. 3 weeks was the number given. That's absurd because that's 3 weeks of guys going out there. It could be either public safety in jeopardy and your own safety.
What happens when this happens again before the final outcome has been reached? I mean, come on.
Exactly, but
you're just putting your, and I see maybe I'm blaming the wrong person in terms of Mark Vasquez, in terms of who's responsible. Someone is responsible because these guys have supervisors. The detectives, they have supervision. There was a sergeant who opened the door to the liquor store and then slammed it shut because he didn't want to be involved. There's someone supervising them, and we just don't know who it is. Like, the fact that there's no transparency about any of this is part of the problem. And then the DAs and the judges feel the need to hang whoever was personally involved to make an example out of them. I'm not justifying the detective's actions. I'm not justifying Eric Duran's actions. But what I'm saying is the consequences were way too severe. given all the factors involved. Way too severe. And their head, let's be honest, their heads are being put on a stick because someone needs to take the blame for what happened, which is totally ridiculous.
Again, like I said, Vasquez is the borough chief, wouldn't know so much more as the chief of detectives would, or his XO, his executive officer would know. And I mean, Levon Holly just walked in about a month ago, whatever. He got to the detective bureau. He wouldn't even know what's going on. He has to be.
And Levon Holly's had a very uneventful police career for the most part. Very few arrests, very few implementation of meaningful programs, didn't really accomplish much. Now he's moved up the totem pole hierarchically speaking, but like he's not very good at his job. He doesn't have a very good reputation from within. And then this stems to the problem of putting the wrong people in the wrong positions, right? Because now you're being bossed around by idiots. Levon Holly has single-handedly forced members of the department to go retire. And now he's being forced to supervise detectives where he's going to hang them out to dry so he can get a promotion. Like this guy is very malicious in terms of his motive for a lot of things. And now he's in charge and we're going to use him as the example of ethicality. Come on.
Well, we'll see what he does because now he's got this mess landed on his lap.
And I mean, Eric Sanders makes a great point here. Cops are always making excuses when they know the training and the legal standard, but are afraid to go against this. Part of the reason they're afraid to go against the system, Eric and everyone else watching, is because the system is so strong. And like, no matter what you do as a cop in New York City, you're wrong. You go and arrest someone that's wanted for a crime and you were told to go arrest. Somehow you have your badges and your guns taken away. You do this, you're told you should have done that instead, but there's no proper training or procedures. You have almost no supervision in anything you're doing. You're not even being given radios. Like, is there a protocol in the patrol guide what to do when you don't have a radio? I would guarantee there isn't, right? So like the system is the problem. And the NYPD is stacked with lawyers head to toe. Not to say any of them are good because most of them would be working in private practice if they had more talent. But like, this is a system that's been rigged against the people who are going out and doing the job. It's the truth all the way around.
Again, you have to have accountability, and you always have to follow your training, the procedures, and the case law. These are the three things that it's a must for every police officer. And trust me, whatever rank you are, where you're going to be up on that stand, right? When you're facing the jury, now you're facing the trial, and they're going to say, whatever rank you are, do you know the training and the protocols, right? And they're going to show you it. You'll say, like the Joe Cop says, like to circle this one little part of use of force. And then the very bottom, they say, did you see the little fine print that says you have to adhere to the local law and also the state law? You're going to be flummoxed because you didn't realize that. You only circled this one thing that all the Joe Cops, they circle in the locker room and say, you need to follow this. Then they're going to say you're training. You went to the training with the police academy. What'd they train you? It says you went to training for this long, and you're going to say, oh, I went here and there. Okay, step down from the stand. Here comes your drinking buddy, the guy you think is your friend from the academy that trains everybody. He's Officer so-and-so. Hi, blah. How long have you been in the academy? I've been training people, blah, blah, blah. Did you train him how to kick someone in the head?
No, because he doesn't want to take accountability. But
wait. He's going to continue. He's going to ask him that. He's going to tell you what he trains each officer to do. Now, any of those tactics that were used, were they trained? That's going to be what he answers to, yes or no. When he says no, because that's clearly what he's going to say. Some of that stuff, I don't know where anyone learned. He's going to step down, bring you back up. This is a prosecutor, and then you're going to have to answer, officer, or whatever your rank is. Do you know this case law? You may not know it. They're going to mention this. Curry versus City of Syracuse. People versus Stevenson. The other case that I've been citing all the time. People versus DeBoer. The other case from where was it? There's another case that I keep citing. They're going to say, do you know this? You may not know, and it's going to say it right in front of your eyes. That's the first time, hopefully not the first time you read it. And now you're stuck behind an 8-ball where it says the courts do not want this kind of behavior, and it says what's illegal. You can't throw things at fleeing felons. You can't be kicking people. It's going to explain this. Now, this may have happened in the 60s, the 70s, and 80s. Maybe they didn't. There were rulings. They didn't bring them around in certain cases, and maybe cops weren't going nuts and supervisors weren't like letting people do crazy things. This is what you're facing. I'm trying to show you this is what's going to matter. that courtroom, not some podcast, not X, not social media. 12 people or judge, you choose a bench trial. We see how that works. That's what's going to judge you. Do not put yourself in that situation when the easiest thing is the procedure, the training, the case law. If you know it, you're going to take a step back and not be emotional. Emotions run high and then mistakes happen. That's another thing. So continue. What were you saying, Jack?
Yeah. Oh, I was just making the point that whoever working at the academy, when they're in the courtroom being interrogated about whether or not they trained to do something or not, they're not going to take your side because they want to save their own ass. That's just the type of people that work with this department, right? It's the same thing with the bosses who hung these guys out to dry. Oh, our bosses told us that we're scaling back on radios because of budget cuts, so you're not getting one. Sorry. You know what I mean? They're not going to go to a CompStat meeting and say, my guys need radios because they're in a compromised position without them. That's just not the type of people who work with the department. So they're putting these guys in terrible situations. And I mean, it's almost to a degree like they want these things to happen so they can put themselves in a position of being the good guy, right? Because if they side with the community anytime something goes awry, then all of a sudden they're better optically speaking, and they're closer to the top of the pecking order when it comes to getting a promotion. So, I mean, it's a sad cycle of events here. I wish the training was better. I wish Sal, I get the feeling these guys aren't being supervised well too. Like they're just being told, like, go out and do this and get it done however you need to get it done. And that's all we care about, right?
I hope that's not what they're doing as far as the supervisors.
I get the sense that that's what's happening. And when they come back and use faulty tactics or do something that looked bad on camera, they're like, oh, I never told you to do that. Like, that's not being a boss. That's not being a supervisor. And all the while the radios are said to not be working, you can envision these guys sitting in their offices, chowing down Hershey Kisses, scrolling through Facebook with their fingers crossed, hoping that nothing goes wrong. Come on, dude. Like, they're going like this. I hope everything goes well. I hope everything goes well.
I have no comment about what they do when they're on their downtime, whatever, in the office, but I do. Yeah. I could tell you this, and Neil once said, a defendant is not compelled to provide testimony. False. The NYPD department trial, they're going to say, you have to go, they're going to want to cross-examine you at the department trial. You may not say anything, but they're going to do exactly what I said. They'll do that without you. Then you don't have to, then don't testify. They're just going to, the avalanche is coming, because then they're going to bring in the training for the guys from the academy that you think is your friend, and he's going to have to say the truth. He can't cover for, I trained him to get kicked in the face. Where is that in the curriculum? I don't know, because they're going to, by the way, they have all the curriculum, they have all the procedures, and they also have all the case law. So walking in, they already know what they have, and it's going to be up to your team, whether it's defense or even your union attorney, which I wouldn't advise, because the unions, I mean, the detective unions, talking big the other day, didn't bother telling the sergeant's unit, why are you telling my guys to go out there with no radios? Not that they don't have them. They're saying don't have them on when you're out there. Don't use them. There's a difference. They have the radios. The radios are there. They told them, the sergeant or whoever, that's what we're trying to really find out, is what supervisor, what grand plan, who came up with this idea of go out there and do not use your radio. Don't use it. You didn't have to have it on you, because that is a big no-no. And it's a two-pronged thing where you have to follow what your supervisor says, but the procedures.
Exactly. Like, where are the concrete instructions here?
That's what I'm saying. You're getting conflicting reports, because you can't go against one, but you can't go against the other. So what do? There's your union. Where's your delegate saying what? So again, this is the stuff. This is the stuff that is a problem. And I know HFL says they don't want patrol to spoil their set. True, that's true. But it's not even that. It's your team. You're going to tell them, I need help. You're going to say that, or we're here, or you hear it. And then
they would have responded differently too if they knew backup was coming as well. I'm inclined to believe.
Baby Lou said it good. They're saying, the crap hits the fan, it always rolls downhill. But if you're following your training and protocols, you will be fine in court. I agree. And unfortunately, that's what they're going to home in on.
You're getting conflicting instructions here. You're being told, go get this guy with no radio. Do it by whatever means necessary, but don't use excessive force in front of a large audience because that's going to be frowned upon.
No. They don't tell you that. That's not what they tell you. They expect
they don't tell you that, but they sent
every cop who works knows your training and your procedures. Nobody goes out there and says excessive force. That would be what?
Yeah, I know. What I said is they would say, go out and get this guy by whatever means necessary. Essentially.
I wouldn't say they say whatever means necessary. Just say this is our subject target. Depends what law enforcement agency you're in, and this is you're expected to apprehend this person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Don't hurt them. Well, don't hurt the public. Put the public's safety in jeopardy. Don't hurt the perpetrator. You're trying to apprehend them, and the most important, don't get hurt yourself. And not having a radio is how you get hurt yourself.
I don't see how you follow all those things.
Yeah, it's just
guy's bigger than you. He's resisting arrest. He starts punching you. Is that you're getting hurt yourself? But you have to just. I mean, dude, there's so many shades of gray.
No. You get now. Wait a minute. If you're getting punched by someone, that's different than punching someone. That's two different things, and we're going to get to that. But again, they expect you to follow suit from your training, and the procedures, and of course the case law that's hanging in the wind. You got to know it. They don't expect you not to know it. It doesn't work that way. And I'm telling you, a court and a jury and that stupid department trial, they expect the same thing, and they're gonna ask you this repeatedly. It's like never end. The first thing they do when you go to a trial and you're the witness, /arresting officer, assisting officer, or you were on the scene. They want to know how long you've been in the police department, where you were, where you've been assigned, where you were trained, when you were trained. They ask you this. It's like the number one thing is training. They always ask you. Why? Because they're going to spin it around and start asking questions. Remember this. This is not show up to work. Here I am. We make arrest and I go home. No. It's a whole process. And if you're not ready for that, then you're in the wrong profession. And you have to be ready for this. This is the like the downside or the dark side. Nobody really trains you or tells you about, like court and all this stuff, where these are the determining factors of what's going to happen in a case, and then things that could go wrong for you. So I'm trying to educate not only the public, but the police officers that are out there who have all this failed supervision, my ad, who they need to refresh themselves on a lot of stuff, because this is what's going to keep you alive and out of possible, indictments, charges, vacation loss, all of that. Because all you want to do is go do your job and go home, no matter where you work. And this stuff will come up all the time. Because I've seen this stuff out there that if you little rough up, I guess you roughing up someone he really is resisting, or he's punching you or something. That's a whole different ballgame, right? But not when you're the aggressor and you're doing things that you're not being trained to do, and you weren't told in a patrol guide or your procedures or protocol, wherever you work, to do these things, that they're telling you adhere to the law. That's a little side note telling you, yeah, this is the guideline, but you always have to go back to the law. And the law says certain things you can't do. And we're going to get to that. But I don't know if you want to say anything in closing. Is this another we're going to get to?
Yeah, we're not living in the darkness of gloom and doom all day. We have some other stuff to get to afterwards. Yeah. But I mean, I think one of the things I would like to say relative to all of these videos is this is one reason not to go police in New York City right now. Like, bottom line, you want to go into law enforcement, go to North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia. There's plenty of agencies, and I'm not going to pretend that the flowers are blooming and the roses look beautiful everywhere and that it's a perfect department. But when evaluating the whole package in totality, I do believe that the conditions and the circumstances for workers and employees are much better at these other departments than NYPD, because a lot of these guys are being used as cheaply paid political pawns when you really strip down all the layers of the situation here, sadly.
Yeah. But again, this doesn't matter.
I do agree that the use of force is something that needs to be scrutinized.
But no, but it's also, remember, it doesn't matter what state you work in, red or blue. All it is pertain. They'll flip it on you in a Republican state. if it's your beating.
Yeah, but the jurisdictions are much more defensive toward law enforcement professionals and agencies than they are in New York City, and they're almost a target right now in New York City. I mean, there's a huge bullseye sitting on the agency's back, which makes it. I mean, that in final analysis makes it much harder to do your job, because even if you're a good cop, if you make a mistake on camera, you're being grouped in with an agency that's already under the microscope, which eliminates the margin of error which exists for a lot of these guys.
Well,
let's just be honest.
I've seen also too. I've seen down south, especially near us in Florida, you have solo patrols, and I've seen some guys try to get brave, and they start punching people too, and then they get modified and suspended too. It doesn't work that way. You have to, like I said this the other day. I forgot where. It might have been on another show, not our show, but you have to remember this. Your emotions, you have to stay in check, and you can't just run like Mike Tyson stuff, MMA stuff, because they're gonna come after you. They don't want this stuff. The public doesn't want this stuff. Just remember this going forward, and not to keep beating on this one because there's another incident too. But this incident, it's had like national headlines now, and not because it doesn't matter who was going to post this, who's going to show this. It was going to go national because what you see clearly is not something that you see every day, because it's not what you're trained to do. So the whole thing from the beginning to end, you're not trained to go out there with no radio. I mean, this is insane. So you're right. And I don't know, certain jurisdictions, whatever, but the same jurisdictions, whether they're Republican or Democrat, if they see a cop using excessive force, and each situation is different than the next. Repeated strikes, not repeated strikes, all this kind of stuff. Then they're gonna, and the number one thing they love to hang on is, did you follow your training or the procedures? That's all. And the case law. Those are the things that are gonna matter. Everything else is, we'll see. You did it in 1980. Congratulations, you got away with it. That was 40 years ago, 50 years ago now. This is 2026. Everyone has a camera. There's cameras everywhere. They pay for all these drones. Your body camera, it matters, but it may not, because the actual view of this stuff, which they don't have cameras by the body camera because they're narcotics, but the actual cameras is just, every angle is just, the more you see it, the more you're cringing, So
yeah. And as someone who sees the video for the first time, it's impossible not to cringe.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
It's
I mean, if you just take everything that was shown to you at face value, you're gonna cringe because it looks bad.
Yeah, and once you know the whole totality of circumstances, you start gaining some support for those. Let's say, as bad as it looks, those detectives saying, "Who the hell is supervising? Tell them to go out there with no radios and stuff." See, you got to have a totality of circumstances to start getting some sympathy, or people going, "Wait a minute, it's not just as bad as this looks. There's other factors to it." Without that, you're right. So that's what we try to do here. This isn't a narrow Neanderthal looking, one-way street. So this is what we like to do. But there was another incident. I want you to play the video, not this one, the other video first, the one from our channel, because there's two videos to this. There's the original that's everyone has been seeing, right? But I lay out some facts in it, and then there's the second video, which shows another angle, and then we'll get into this one, because this one's got a lot of people. When you know why this happened, you're going to get even just say what. So let's play this one.
This video comes allegedly from the 40th precinct. There was an incident where apparently some suspects are being handcuffed, and let me play this, and then I'll tell you a couple more things about this.
Hey, don't hit it! Tranquilo. Yo, eso no. Put your behind your back. Hey. Put your fucking hands behind your back. Daniel. Back up.
Well, while others keep running their mouth, here are some other allegations with this. That individual that was being punched repeatedly was only issued a C summons. No voided arrest, no arrest for resisting arrest. So now I ask, what kind of use of force is that? Was there a TRI report even done here? I mean, does the soccer mom know about anything that happens underneath her in the New York City Police Department.
The answer to that question is unequivocally no, by the way.
So that's the first angle, right? Now, you know a little bit of what was going on. So let's show the second one.
I'm gonna take the audio away too, because there's a lot of screaming here. So this video, you see a little bit of a different angle than the first look. The first look was kind of a side angle. This is a front one. I would say it looks worse from this angle because you can see the punches a little more detailed, we'll say. In the first video, you see him swinging from the side, but the front angle does a lot more justice.
What you're not, and you might have to play this again.
Yeah, we can do
you
that.
Hear a taser. You heard the taser being deployed. There's a sergeant. Yeah, there's a sergeant right there. The sergeant.
By the way, right here, let's slow this down for a moment. The guy who ended up punching the suspect.
He's already,
threatening him already. You know, he's wound up in the punching position, telling him stop resisting, put your hands behind your back. I'm assuming that's what he's saying.
Yeah. Okay. So look at that, and he's just raring to go on this guy. I don't know why, because so everyone else is being handcuffed. There's a lot of guys there. You don't need to be, you know, he's got 2 or 3 guys holding him. He's gonna get handcuffed, right? But he's raring to go, hitting the guy in the head. Now,
look at the sergeant, by the way. He's just kind of standing in the back, not really doing anything.
He's standing in the background, but he's tased him. So that now you do need a TRI because of the taser and because of the strikes to the face. Now, he was only issued a C summons. A C summons. So now I want you to put up 2 things, because there's 2 important factors in this, because when we look in the laws, right? And we'll put up the first one, and I'll read this, because we now resisting arrest, I guess resisting arrest experts out there. This is the actual law. Forget about resisting arrest. It's a separate one. Section 3527 of New York penal law, right? Justification, use of physical force, and resisting arrest prohibited. And this is where people get lost, because this is different than resisting arrest. It says justification, use of physical force, and resisting arrest prohibited. A person may not use physical force to resist an arrest, whether authorized or unauthorized, which is being effected or attempted by a police officer or police officer when it would reasonably appear that the latter is a police officer or peace officer. That's that one. That's the one people keep conflating with the actual resisting arrest. Now, this is the Penal Law Code 20530, resisting arrest. A person is guilty of resisting arrest when he intentionally prevents or attempts to prevent a police officer or peace officer from effecting an authorized, remember that word, authorized arrest of himself or another person. Resisting arrest is a Class A misdemeanor. So you need to have an authorized arrest. So in Curry versus City of Syracuse, which is in the Second Circuit, 2003, there may be probable cause for an independent, there has to be a probable cause for an independent arrest apart from resisting arrest. So going back to the first incident, IDing the wrong guy is why that case got dropped. You see what they're using. And then People versus Stevenson from 1972, if the crime does not occur, that the arrest is unlawful or illegal. So resisting arrest experts, there's a whole bunch of them now apparently. You don't even know the laws. It says authorized. What authorized you to even do this resisting arrest charge? It's always an extra charge, not the only charge, because then what do we have here? So this guy was for an open container, which is a C summons, which means you'd have to go to a station house. There has to be avoided arrest on top of the C summons. None of this 1980s stuff. This is how the procedure goes. Whether there was or not, I don't know. Whether it was a TRI report done and how that even looks, which is done by the sergeant who actually tased the guy, I don't know. The fact that the sergeant's there, and if you want to go with it, you put hands on him and it must be resisting arrest, even though I just read this out and why that wouldn't work, then that's an absolute failure once again on the supervision. for A, allowing those strikes, B, for the TRI report and the C summons charge. You're not even protecting your officers out there. And you're the supervisor. Again, I'm seeing lack of supervision here. That's the major cause of all of this.
Yeah, and that's really, honestly, this video upsets me a lot more than the video in the liquor store, than even the Eric Duran case, because the suspect was outnumbered by about a 10-to-1 ratio there. And you have the sergeant standing right behind the cop arresting him. He needs to say, hey, man, we got him, lay off. Or he needs to intervene and say, I've seen this happen before on the streets where sergeants will kind of take the place of a cop during an act of arrest when they see them struggling. They'll tap them on the shoulder and say, you know, go behind me or whatever, and they'll kind of step in for them. That needs to happen in a case like that, because he is kind of resisting arrest. He's not fully giving his hands.
Hold on, you're saying it again, but you're saying resisting arrest again. No, if you go by what that says, no, he's not. Are you authorized to arrest him for what? For a C summons? You just hand him a C summons on the scene. Everyone's being handcuffed, which everyone else seems to be doing fine. And here, that's where you're going to run into. Again, this is another problem where you're going to run into what I'm saying, illegal issues. He's not resisting arrest because it's a C summons. You can't just run up on someone and strike them because, again, you're getting all emotional. If he was handcuffing him and then they were going to bring him to the station house and all this stuff, voided arrest and stuff, then you just handcuff him. The fact that he hits him about 4 or 5 times, you could tell the guy's not.
And he had the cop had a predetermined outcome in his mind about what he was going to do there too, because he wound up, got his fist, and started screaming out commands, saying, "If you don't comply, I'm going to punch you." Essentially,
what is complying? I don't even know what is he supposed to do. He's got a backpack on, but the worst.
You have like 8 other cops there too.
The cops' actions, they're inexcusable, right? That one guy, and I saw one other cop in the first video was trying to take his hand away, but the sergeant who's on the scene, it's inexcusable. That is like unforgivable. You're the leader of this pack. How do you're tasing the guy, you're letting that go on. What are you doing? And then you're writing C summonses because what? You can't arrest the guy. So why would you authorize any of that stuff? See, that's going to go back on the supervisor's shoulders, who's also, if there was a platoon commander working, all of these people are going to get asked what the hell happened in that. And just so people understand, because, again, the Joe Coppers, that video was sent to me. First of all, it was taken, I believe it was a Saturday it happened. This video was given to me through the community. Now, you don't know if that's a community meeting. Is that a right now working police officer, a retired police officer? Do they work at city council? Are they a politician? But that video was already circulating long before I had my hands, to even see that. And what they've shown you is, are you not flummoxed seeing something like that? And they're saying, what do we do as a community seeing something like that? Because there's people that are fearful of having any contact with police because of stuff like this.
Understandably so.
We need to have this discussion and bring this forward rather than sit in the locker room and talk like a bunch of Joe Cops and a bunch of hairbags like you know it all, because that's why the community hates you. The next time you don't like a verdict that happens in a courtroom, right, regarding a police officer that's a defendant or someone that may have done something to a police officer, you don't get the result you want, you need to look at yourselves in the mirror, because the people that are going to judge you are civilians, right? They're going to look at you and see, well, you don't give a damn about us, the way you treat people in the street, right? And then you got a police commissioner that can't even promote officers that do heroic, outstanding work, like Officer Polgarin, Officer De Jesus, Officer Cardenas, Detective Rivera, the 2 detectives that handled that maniac, machete-wielding maniac down there that did everything and had so much restraint that everyone should follow what those guys did on video, because that's a textbook procedure, training, and case law that I wish other people would know, right? And then the mounted cop that did a heroic thing using his horse without getting extrajudicial. That's the kind of stuff that needs to be promoted, rewarded, and shown. You work hard. You do the right thing. I see you. I see you, what you're doing for me. My police department and the city appreciates it. You get promoted. Now, let's promote the person that's driving the chief. And then they're going to, I don't know, some hotel or something. That's getting promoted. This is the problem, Jack. It's a whole problem. And
yeah, and HFL 737 says you don't want to show up another cop by pulling him off a perp. You don't want to allow the situation to get out of hand either. And when someone's standing there punching someone who's being held back by about 5 to 7 people by my calculation, then there's no reason to be using force in the first place. Also, like the liquor store case where the suspect was misidentified, it begs the question of why you arresting someone over a C summons, right? Which is like the initial problem, because there needs to be a call over the radio, hey, let this guy go, right? Instead of allowing him to be held down by 7 other people who are being paid through taxpayer-funded salaries when they could be out pursuing other cases, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's the quintessential problem at hand here. And that guy needs to chill out. I mean, I don't know what's going on in his life or why he's so angry, but you can even see the cop standing directly to his right, who's the one holding his arm, like kind of leans out of the way when he starts punching the guy. Like he wants no involvement with the individual who's punching the suspect. And listen, I know the cops work as a team. I'm not saying they don't. I understand like the civic agreement aspect of things when they're out serving the public, but still there needs to be moral boundaries where the sergeant says, hey, you can't do that. Or one of the cops puts his arm out and says, hey man, we got him. Or the sergeant taps him out and says, go in the back, go talk on the radio, go do whatever, because that just looked ugly. When there is sufficient manpower to hold someone down, you don't need to use force. Like in the case of the liquor store, there's only 2 people. I still think the force was unjustified to the extent that they went to, but we'll give them a pass because there should have been, in that regard, because there should have been more people helping them with backup. Same kind of goes for the Eric Duran case. But man, when you have 7 other cops, again, conducting an arrest, you have zero excuse. I'm sorry.
Yeah, again, that other one is a lot of people are now, you know, this sergeant should have stopped him first of all. That's number one. I mean,
yeah, especially the sergeant is supposed to be the supervisor on scene, and he's standing there like a spectator. Are you supervising? Are you sightseeing?
And this is why I'm saying, if you're going to try to now modify this police officer, the sergeant should be suspended. And the guy facing the biggest, you know, any kind of repercussions for this, yeah, I guess you want to say this cop is out of control and whatever happens with his individual actions happens, but the sergeant should face even more scrutiny for, you could have stopped it. And oh, by the way, you tased the guy on top of it, which I thought if you tase someone, that's it. That's like the highest use of force, other than if we're going to, you know, start going crazy, right? And you allow that to happen still. And then you write him a C summons and think that's okay. The world is rosy after that for an open container, which is crazy that he would even, that all occurred. Again, failure of supervision. And that goes all the way to the top. All these supervisors, all these chiefs, it's just absolute chaos underneath them. Starting with the soccer mom who's running around and, you know, when she has a secret foot post over there on her brother's home, you know, she goes in the media and they're writing more puff pieces about it when there's absolute chaos underneath there and furor, and the rank and file are furious. And on top of it, she doesn't even reward the right people. The one good thing you could do as a police commissioner right now is promote those hero cops that stopped the terrorist attack, the 2 detectives that stopped that machete-wielding maniac that could have killed people, slashed 3 people, the hero on the mounted cop that stopped someone on using a horse, someone with a parole violator. We have a bunch of these maniacs running around. They're on parole or they're violating it, but, you know, we don't put them in the system because, you know, we could thank Andrew Cuomo and all the people he put in place wherever they are, right? So you have to do this. I understand it sucks. Legislation sucks, all of that stuff. But there's ways that you can bring up morale and show people that you actually care and you know what's going on, and you're not some billionaire Harris, right? I mean, something happened at a Lowe's. Some crime happened at a Lowe's in Brooklyn, I read, in Mill Basin. Some maniac ran over a 72-year-old woman. They didn't want to say they were hurt, but now they're looking for I think it's 3 male blacks. They look like they're teenagers. He had another teenager that got shot at a schoolyard. These kids were just having a water balloon contest after work. And some other teenager shows up with a gun. So all those guns being removed, you're not locking anyone up. So unless you start doing that and getting to these gang members and all these other people that are influential in communities that are not nefarious, you're not going to be able to solve it. Of course, we have a problem because there's not enough manpower, Jack. Not enough manpower, Jack. That's what's the theme of one of the other things that we have, right? Because there was a incident in a 104 precinct. Am I not mistaken? There was someone running around with Palestinian flags, ripping donuts.
Yeah. And I remember, I mean, this is kind of the sad part about having to have this discussion again. I just want to point out, we had a similar discussion about something like this happening in Malta, and Vicky Palladino went absolutely apeshit, pardon my French, a couple months ago on Mayor Mamdani. Not his fault entirely, at least. Yet it's happening again months later.
This is
look. So this is kind of what took place in Queens this past weekend in the confines of the 104th precinct. It got out of hand. There were people riding around crazy like it's Grand Theft Auto on mopeds. You could see there's like a fire in the background. People lit fire on the streets, and the cars were going around. It was total commotion all the way around. And now everyone from Fox News to local media outlets are blaming Fox. I had to call out Fox News, and I have to really call out Riley Gaines and Tommy Lauren in particular, the two blonde Barbie chicks, plasticed up blonde Barbie chicks on the network, because they constantly complain about New York City being this horrible place under Mayor Mamdani, but it's safe enough for them to fly out of town, from Tennessee or wherever the hell they live, to stay at the nice 5-star hotel across the street, to eat at the really nice restaurants in New York City, and then to pin everything that they see happening in every city across the nation because they don't have time to do any preparation themselves. They just blame it on socialism, which they can't define still, and Mamdani. No, guys, not everything going on within the NYPD in New York City is Mamdani's fault. I still don't like the guy. I think he's a terrible legislator, a terrible leader. But at the same time, the NYPD has to do a much better job of patrolling these neighborhoods. And in regards to Commissioner Tisch, the one thing that you forgot to mention, Sal, the most important news that dropped over the weekend, she's going to be the keynote speaker for the Staten Island Advances Woman of Achievement 2026 event. So she's getting puffed up again by the—
This is terrible.
Seriously, they announced it yesterday morning. When I was trying to relax, I got a notification on my phone. But
oh my God.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, she's continuously getting puffed up despite her mismanagement. And I just wonder what the bureau chiefs for each specific bureau are doing to try and keep everyone safe within all these places, because the plan and the execution is not good. You talk about that sergeant who froze like a deer in the headlights. I still don't know what their training is telling these people to do, because they're not following any sort of protocols and procedures at all. So, I mean, I can't see the training is the end all be all for telling officers how to respond to certain calls.
I got to tell you something, because this thing I just got a picture. I want you to put this up. I'm going to send it to you right now, Jack. This is these are better pictures of this incident that occurred, which is just absurd. Like I saw this. But you can't, I mean, this has been a problem running around all over. So like these,
from Phil Wong. Yeah.
What do they call these people? I don't know. There's like a group of them. They're in cars and all this. Like this is like almost like a fraternal order of people in the.
Yeah, it's like a street. It's a street gang.
It's like a street gang. And remember, this happened not too long ago, right? So these are the people. If you see these, you got to call 104 precinct. This is absolutely outrageous behavior. And I'm going to tell you something that I got, again, folks, everybody, I talk to everybody. All right. So someone in this neighborhood, right? In this neighborhood, witness. You know why obviously the police are outmanned, because in the 104 precinct, you're lucky. How many cars could possibly be out on that at that time of night? 2, if you're lucky, because everybody's in transit. You have to flood everything in transit to help Kathy Hochul become governor, because that's a big thing. I stopped crime in the subways, even though there's machete-wielding maniacs down there that detectives that were on overtime because they keep sending people from all the way around had to stop. So they have these precincts understaffed, unmanned, right? Of course, they don't even have station security, some of them, because there's no one out there. There's no cops apparently, because they're all hiding in units administratively. A lot of people, friends of the administration. So This happens over there, and the vehicle, there was a police vehicle with two cops. I don't know where it was, at a 7-Eleven. They were tracked because they parked there and they put some kind of fencing or something around it, and they put garbage cans. So these same clowns have other clowns, all right, putting things behind the vehicle, and they couldn't get out. And I got this from someone in the neighborhood that saw this. That said, get this out. So they were actually trapping the vehicle so the cops can't get out. They had to get out of the car, take the fencing down, take the trash cans, put them whatever, and then go. So you have a delayed reaction. Of course, SRG, we got to disband those guys. We can't have them. They're not allowed to show up anywhere anymore. We got to be careful. Even though this isn't a protest, this is madness. So this is all issues that, again, the soccer mom has to get a grip on. The community is up in arms, whether it's your own incidents that happen. You have a ton of corruption underneath you, executives being number one, right? And they don't even know how to lead, because anyone underneath them, they don't know how to lead. They're just putting all their friends in, and it's just a disgrace. Then you have issues in the street. Your rank and file cops are getting all kinds of, they can't deal with this anymore. But you leave them understaffed. You know why? Because you like having all these little 1PP administrative positions, and the admin lieutenant needs 2 girls to work for them, and the ICO needs 1, and then there's traffic stat, those guys need 1, and then there's the comp stat, and they need 1. So before you know it, 10, 15 people that could be out in the street, right? They're out inside the precinct doing nothing administratively. There's even more in One Police Plaza. All of that. Let's not hire civilians to fill those positions. Let's worry about hiring 5,000 more cops. Like, that's going to do anything. There's more than 5,000 leaving in the next year, if they haven't. The attrition rate.
Yeah, and again, to reiterate, the problem isn't just hiring new cops, because then you're getting the same inexperienced people on the streets that you have now. The problem is you need to take people out of those administrative posts and put them back onto the street. Your problem is solved in the snap of my fingers if you just do that. Because we've already beat the dead horse about this, but if you hire 5,000 new cops next year and 3,500 leave, you're only getting about 1,500 new ones, right? So that's still not filling the staffing shortage.
Nope. You're not filling this. And there's tons of people that are still being carried on the books that are retiring, or they're running out their time. I would run out my time if I had 20 years on.
How many people retired in place too?
This is a big problem. These are the kind of, and I love how they love to make this into more and blame this has been going on before the mayor got there. I've seen these stupid, what do you call these car, whatever. They get in their motorcycles and run around. And this has been going on, I believe, since de Blasio. No one's been able to stop this stuff, because it's not. And of course, there's not enough legislation on the books to say this charge is going to carry this much of a sentence. You're going to get charged. We have you. You did these things. You burnt up the neighborhood. Okay, 6 months. You got to do 6 months somewhere, and you get no. They just like, all right, don't worry about it. We'll get you again later. What? That's part of the problem, but that's a political issue on top of the problem you're having in the street as trying to police this stuff, because it's just chaos. The easy solution right now, the quick fix is you need more cops in the street. You hire more civilians. Get rid of the ones that are running around like just being the ICO's pet or whatever. Get those people out on the street, and then you might somehow even up that they'll start seeing more cops out there and go, okay, because you're gonna get caught if there's more people working, right? But that's not what's going on, because you don't have enough cops, and then you send whatever you have that may be extra. I'm talking maybe, like a borough may have more cops, and then you're flooding the transit, because the soccer mom's best friend's got to become the governor. So you are making things political yet again, and this is the problem. But rank and file, they can't. The worst, Jack, is when I speak to not the officers themselves, but their mother or their father, and they're scared to death of their child that's on this job, and for the very things I'm talking about. I don't know if they talk to the Joe Coppers out there. This is what I get all the time. hello, Sal, my son's on the job. Thank you. I'm not going to tell you where they work and everything, but there's like, thank you for what you're saying. I am terrified. They don't know what to do. They don't want their son out there. And I know a lot of families have the same issue, right? In the same parts. But what do you do to families like what I'm saying, that their child, their baby's out there as a police officer, and look at the hell that you're dealing with? If it's not from within, because, your partner, look out, whoever your partners are, the Joe Coppers might be, with the knives behind you when you're not looking. Then you got management, which is an absolute disgrace from the bottom up. Sergeant, lieutenant, some of these guys don't even belong. I don't even know how they became supervised. Then you got executives that God knows what they're doing, whether they're partying, whether they're spending money, using department money, who knows? There's all kinds of stuff going on. Then you have the soccer mom herself, who's oblivious to. She either knows about it, so she's either incompetent or in on it. It's one or the other, right? Incompetent, inept, and just corrupt because she got footballs in front of her own brother's place. So she's no better than anyone else. She's a hypocrite. Then you have a mayor. And the mayor, does he care about the police? I don't know. He's 5 months in almost, right? We'll see. You have 6 months is usually the mark. But this is the pressures of dealing, of being a police officer in today's day and age. And then there's the families of those, and they say, oh my God, I'm scared to death of what could happen to my son. And not because of not for what they signed up for, but it's far worse than you could ever imagine even being on that job, Jack. And this is
I can't imagine. And you need to mention, Sal, in the process of talking about all these things, that a lot of the people in the administrative posts are senior level members of service who are making $250,000 a year plus $125,000 in overtime to do jobs that they don't need to be doing. And their total pay is $375,000. Whereas the cops who are out on the street actually apprehending suspects doing police work are making $65K a year, right? So that's really the stem of the root of the problem here. But as it pertains to the incident in the 104th precinct, I mean, look at the people on these wanted posters, Sal. These are not adults. These are like young kids who are carrying out crimes. And like the NYPD has a whole community affairs bureau. And what are they doing? Like, there seems to be no interaction with the community. And you have these kids running around lost, which is partially on the blame of their parents. Because, I mean, why are they 16 years old running around doing donuts in parking lots, lighting shit on fire, acting crazy? I mean, they're not in elementary school or preschool getting caged up. These are grown young adults. They shouldn't be behaving this way,
yeah,
right?
How can I say this? I've seen this out here in Miami. They call it
yeah, in West Palm Beach. I mean, they're like 13-year-old kids like on mopeds, like scooting through the street, like doing tricks to the point where if they lean too far back, they're gonna fall backwards and break their skull with no helmet on. I'm like, what are these parents allowing their children to do? Like, it's not safe for them at all.
It's
I've seen them before. I know this is a side note, but because we're on the topic of reckless youth behavior in these neighborhoods, I've seen them in like garages, these bicycle gangs, I guess they are. They converge in garages, like privately on the second floor, and then they all roll out together and go on I-95 or wherever it may be and cause mayhem. And it's like incredibly unsafe for the drivers that they're on the roadway with, but also the kids, because they don't know what they're doing on these bikes. None of them have licenses, and they're one maneuver away from like killing themselves accidentally, which is what upsets me the most. Yeah. And they don't seem like, maybe it's because they're young, but they don't seem to be aware of the consequences of reckless riding either.
I mean, I sent you. You have the video, there's the video. That's nonsense.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. This video comes courtesy of New York City Councilman Phil Wong, who represents the 30th district, which covers the confines of these areas. And I mean, look, he wiped out a bunch of people and he rolled over the vehicle. Congratulations. I mean,
yeah, 92 Charlie even says, 92 Charlie says here. He said, he's saying that, no, look, you can't just have set up checkpoints because those were deemed, the only way a checkpoint is legal is you need to announce this on the radio like 24 hours prior. You need to have a sheet of who's on there. The supervisor has to write down exactly how many cars or what every third or fourth car they stop. There's a whole process that you got to have the sign that says checkpoint. You announcing where it is, those guys will go somewhere else. That's not going to work. You understand? You have to announce to the world we're having a checkpoint. It has to be on the radio. It's like a whole thing. This is why they stopped doing it, because years ago they said, look, these arrests you're doing off a checkpoint, unless you're following all these, it's illegal. We got to drop these cases. So that's why they can't even do the checkpoints. And again, I don't think they have enough manpower to do it. They just don't. Manpower has become a force multiplier, is always key to stopping these trends. They don't have that. Jack, everybody is either hiding, whoever's out there. They have a lot of people hiding in these, secret squirrel locations where an admin office or whatever. And then you have all these people that are out there. There's bare minimum, and anyone that's left over go to transit because Kathy Hochul's got to get reelected. That's literally what's going on here. I mean,
Kathy Hochul's already getting reelected. Let's be honest with you.
It is a waste. Come on. I mean,
Bruce Blakeman doesn't stand a chance as the Republican. His messaging hasn't been strong enough to appeal to a large enough constituency base. And as the incumbent Democrat, Hochul is playing from ahead here. So she's definitely going to be winning. And I think James Jordan earlier in the show brought up an excellent point about the soccer mom and the World Cup globalists are going to be a perfect storm of chaos. Stay tuned. We'll be discussing that at a later date. I do believe that that's true as well, that bringing the World Cup to New York City is a political ploy to try and increase revenue within the confines of the 5 boroughs, and that the billionaire Harris and Tish and the billionaire businesswoman, because Hochul's not a billionaire herself, but she's very closely connected to Terry Pagula, so she's in the billionaire circle by association. And then you also have Mamdani, who's a social elite. All of them are behind trying to juice every penny out of the World Cup, and they know the marketing and publicity strategy behind it, and they're capitalizing on being able to have it in New York City. We're going to talk about that at a later date.
This is going to be a huge event, yeah, it's whatever, but
yeah,
there was also another thing that happened. There's a lawsuit that involved the I believe evidence collection unit in the Bronx, and there was a peephole, so peeping toms, a supervisor with a female supervisor. They were looking through the hole. That's not too far away from the frat house that was in the 4-6 and all that stuff. So they actually messaged me saying that's like the NYPD's Epstein Island, what they were trying to do over there. And there's a bunch of people in this suit. John Scola had it. So I saw it in the New York Post. I said, man, I mean, like what the hell? Can it get like all this stuff on top of that too? The frat house behavior. This is why people look at this and you go, let me tell you something. Who is this guy? LER. So you're saying Joe Ramirez, someone must know that you worked in the department being affiliated to those 3 clowns, and this guy hurt your image? Well, who the hell are you? Listen, this is what I'm talking about with these Joe Cop people. You just don't like that things are now being put in the forefront. You like to go put everything once the toothpaste comes out of the tube, you can't stick it back in. You're one of those people that probably do. And you have all these things to say, and you're like so smart, but God knows what you did, right? When you were around, or what you're doing now, because you don't want to face the music. You want to look at this and say, back to blue. It's okay. Everything is okay. Go back to sleep. Don't worry about it. And others are crying every night, wondering, how am I going to get through another day of work? You don't care about those voices. You only care about the clowns out there and whatever they're resisting arrest experts. Now, all these people that I don't care about, neither does Jack. And see, in the face of adversity, we just continue to grow. Because we bring discussion forward, the ones that you don't want to have, that in the locker room, you're throwing darts and making fun of people, and then they're writing letters on each other in internal affairs. We've been through this already. I know this whole culture. It's really laughable and a shame. But that's what you get. Oh, you're a clown. Look at yourself in the mirror. There's a good song by Michael Jackson. It's called Man in the Mirror. Right? I'm talking about the man in the mirror. You need to do that. Because that's the problem. You look at yourself in the mirror. You can't affect change if you can't look in the mirror. That's actually a great, there's a song from the late 80s, and it rings true today. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us because all those crazy allegations against him, which he never found anything to begin with. Another one of those witch hunts.
Yeah, he had a lot of personal problems too.
I know, but
very sad And he had a very rough childhood as well. So very sad.
He made a lot of sense. Man in the mirror. If you can't look at yourself in the mirror, you can't affect change. Could be a woman in the mirror too, but you want to be a coward, hide behind names and stuff. Give me a break. I've dealt with these clowns my whole life, whether it's politics, policing, it's just all the same.
Yeah, it is all the same. And you just hope that the problem with our solution as currently proposed is that you need to have some sort of humility and morality to care about other people in order to implement them. And unfortunately, there's too many self-serving assholes, excuse my French again, in the NYPD who just don't care about anyone else. Like it's all about how they can get a promotion, how they can get the easiest assignment, how they can get the most amount of money for doing the least amount of work. And lost in the fold is you. Now, if they need you to do a good job so they can get promoted, then they'll take a little bit of interest. But the minute they get that promotion, they don't want to see or hear from you again. It's a system full of selfish, self-serving people who just, again, don't care about anyone and don't want to help.
A lot of them also are fugazi. You're fugazi. They act like your friend, which is why you don't, like I said, the Joe Coppers like to go to the bar. We have one guy in particular. I mean, he was in charge at one point. We don't even want to discuss that.
Yeah, we're not discussing him and his late night social media tirades because he doesn't deserve any attention, especially now that he's at the department. And listen, we wish everyone the best. We don't take anything personally. I don't care. I didn't have my feelings hurt by anything that's posted on social media. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never, ever hurt either of us, right? So we don't care about this guy, but it's just, to me, seeing all of this stuff on social media is a sad commentary because it's like, they're letting assholes run the department. They're enabling bad people who don't care about the rank and file. And then the minute they're retired, whoop-de-doo, all of a sudden everything matters and they need to be morally sound people. And everything that they're proposing, they weren't allowed to do anything because they were handcuffed when they were part of the department. Yeah, give me a break. The biggest priority was getting a 3/4 pension. That's all that mattered. And it came at the mercy of anyone and everyone you needed to ambush on the way out the door. Come on.
And also these incidents, there's people that were just there. They saw everybody getting handcuffed. The guy at the far left will now have to answer for what happened there when he doesn't even know what's going on. He's handcuffing a suspect. What's going to happen when they get this guy and they question him? They're going to try to go after this guy. Because remember, these internal affair clowns, they're not your friends. And there's a whole separate issue with them. And when they ask questions, they might say, well, we don't want to get this guy whatever favor, but we're going to go after that little guy in the corner because he should have done X, Y, Z, and he's innocent. And that also happens. And they don't have a voice, right? And they don't want to be put through this stuff. But all the clowns out there want to do whatever. I'm just saying, this is a show where we show all angles, every perspective. You don't look at things in a one world, one view, one narrow-minded Neanderthal Joe Cop hairbag way, because that's why the public hate. Remember, you don't like those rulings in court? Look at yourselves in the mirror. You have no problem with the stuff you're seeing. You're cheering it on. So you know what they're saying? We don't care about you either. And we won't say it out loud, but when we have a chance to zing you, which they have, they zing you. And now it hurts and it stings and there's nothing you could do about it. Right? That's how they answer. That's how the people answer, because the power is to the people, not to the police, not to government. All right. It's to the people. They decide everyone's fate, not the cops. Definitely not the FBI. Definitely not the president. I mean, look at the problems they're having. I mean, I said they closed the strait.
He spoke way too early. Way too early. Yeah. I mean, wasn't the war supposed to be over last week? Like, we kept hearing how there's going to be no troops on the ground and how we declared victory. And then over the weekend, it was leaked that conflict resolution talks were actually done without the presence of the president because everyone on his staff was scared that he was going to interfere negatively. And then later on, we're told that peace talks hang in the balance and that oil prices are not going to be going down until 2027. Listen, if you're worth $1 billion or you have millions hanging in the bank, as all the Fox News hosts telling you to be patient do, like well, think about it, Sal. Like, if you have enough money, it's okay to pay $2 more per gallon for oil if you're worth $1 billion, right? Like, it's okay.
$2 a gallon.
Yeah, it's okay, right? Like, trust the process. We're going to win a championship eventually. We're the Sixers rebuilding, no problem, right? But if seriously, no, because that's how they talk. They say we need to trust the process of the first thing that happened is we heard how oil prices went down when Trump took office because Biden was gone. Then we had a little bit of a bait and switch because oil prices went back up. They surpassed previous levels, but we were told we needed to devote all of our resources toward a war that we had to fight, even though Iran posed no threat and we didn't seize any of their weapons in invading them, which was the original purpose. We were told that we needed to use our resources, be patient, and trust the process. And just take the bullet for the time being. This is a little bit of pain for long-term gain. But Americans don't see long-term gain. The only thing they're noticing is their prices going up. And paying high oil prices for the rest of the year is going to have major implications on people who are driving to and from work every day and refilling their gas tank once a week because their living costs just went up by thousands of dollars just to exist on this planet, not to go on a vacation, not to make a major purpose, not to send your child to college, to fill up your car with gas so you can go to work, so you can make an income.
And the middle class is getting crushed, right? Yeah, and here we have Frank.
Is there even a middle class anymore? I mean, I think the gap between the ultra wealthy and the wealthy and the gap between the upper middle class and the wealthy is like this when it used to be like this.
Yeah.
Like it's only widening.
And Frankie Paguacci, the $4.99 to the Sabra. By the way, thank you. The Cafecito from Cal Bakery is on you, Frankie. Everyone in the department owns a gag ball, but on YouTube, an unknown name can become fearless. Good one. That's a good one. And Lone Silencer says, people like Cat Turd, Levine, Shapiro, and the rest of the MAGA must be exhausted from the Iran war victory laps they've taken on X. LOL.
No, if we were awarding, I like Frankie's comments, but if we were awarding comment of the day, I would give that award to the Lone Silencer because he's totally right. Like, also, there's been rumors that Laura Loomer's fiance or husband is actually someone who works for the Israel department in DC, and they're like financially connected somehow, as in he was getting contributions for her and he was there's all types of intricate levels of the spider web here. But for the point of having a more important discussion here, all the people on social media, they just need to stop. Because if we were in a war with Biden or when gas prices were going up with Biden, Gunnar Eagleton and Eric Daughtry, they were jumping all over him. But now that the shoe is sitting on the opposite foot, it's all okay, and they're just pushing another narrative. I'm tired of the narrative pushing on social media because yes, it is a sad social commentary that people are dumb enough to actually believe it. But the narratives that's being pushed by Levine and Shapiro and Loomer and Cat Turd, they're hurting all of us. We're all being hurt, objectively speaking, by the current set of circumstances in this country.
Look alongside us. Soon you will have the same sycophants who attacked Biden on gas prices, saying he can do something because he was president. They'll start claiming Trump can't do anything because he is only president.
I mean, where does it end? The only thing I will give Trump credit for is seemingly so he didn't try and bail out Tiger Woods when he rolled over his Range Rover. I mean, I saw you were talking about that with Jason Goodman on Friday, so I just wanted to chime in on that briefly. When Woods got on the phone with the president, I'm guessing the president said, "I can't help you."
Not a state case.
No,
not a state case.
It's a state case, and it's also too much of a publicity disaster for the president to step in. Now, you need the president to step in with Eric Adams' crypto case that 99% of Americans know nothing about. Totally fine. But when there's so much evidence against Woods, there was no way on this planet that he could possibly tell the police department to lay off Woods. And Woods, shame on Woods for trying to get a get out of jail free card from the president, because there was no way that he was getting that either. I mean, he rolled over his Range Rover and almost killed people for the second time. You're not getting away with it because you know the president. Sorry.
And Joel Ramirez says, but he bailed out Argentina.
Yeah, well, the thing about getting bailed out by Trump is you have to commit an offense behind the curtain. Like, if no one in the public sees what's going on, it's all okay. But once the public has formed their opinion,
then all bets are off.
Then all bets are off. Yeah. But we call those types the Make Israel Great Again, as that is their number. Yeah. I mean, and I wonder how much blackmail Israel has on Levine and the president and other people, because there's some sort of underlying beneficial motive here. I mean, I know that Barron Trump's net worth shot up to $152 million over the weekend because he seems,
you mentioned this, and it was something you want to talk about, because also on X, the social engineering that's going on is to the 10th. I saw that Candace Owens and Laura Loomer were attacking each other.
Yeah.
And just for the record, by the way, Laura Loomer has now she blocked Roger Stone after he absolutely decimated her. So that's over with. And she's now been feuding with Candace Owens. She's social engineering how she goes after people. So here you go with this whole thing regarding the fiance, which is you touched up on, but this has gone back and forth, and it's a mess. It's all over the place.
Andrew Simpson, I did some digging on Andrew Simpson. He essentially works for a Holocaust Memorial Foundation in DC, and he's been pictured with Loomer multiple times. So that's kind of led to speculation that Loomer and him have some sort of transactional relationship that's being dressed up as a marriage. I mean, Loomer's posted nothing about her husband because so many people hate her, and nobody can understand how anyone would marry her. And maybe it's because no one is married to her, or not for the right reasons in a conventional marriage that we would know to be an actual marriage anyway.
Yeah. I guess.
But it's weird how she kind of views herself as the Undertaker, knocking at one door after the next. First it was Roger Stone. Well, first it was Marjorie Taylor Greene. Then it was Roger Stone. Now it's Candace Owens. Next, it's probably going to be Nick Fuentes. She's already been taking shots at Tucker Carlson, but she's probably going to turn the heat up to level 10 again on him at some point in the near future again, too. So she's strategically going after all the Trump opposition. But Sal, I mean, let's be those antagonists here and ask ourselves, is this real, or is this just more staged conflict to distract us from the real show going on?
Yeah, I mean, watching WrestleMania last night, talking about WWE, you would think Laura Loomer might come down the aisle, but it never happened. The closest he got to is there is a wrestler that looks like she's the new world champion. I always get that. I forgot her name. She won last night. I guess the big thing watching WrestleMania, obviously John Cena was the host. He came out. There was over 50,000 attendance both nights. First night was the first night was. Second night was a lot better. There was a lot better matches. Of course, the big one was the end. Roman Reigns, the only tribal chief, the main head of the table, the whole thing. He beat CM Punk. It ended like that. I thought WrestleMania. Again, the first night left a lot to be desired. The second night was really good. There was a lot of good matches. There was the ladder match. Rey Mysterio, Pena won that, but Rey Mysterio was in that. And his son wrestled too in another great match. The Drew McIntyre match was pretty good with Jacob Fatu the first night. That was probably the best one. And, of course, the CM Punk Roman Reigns is like a really all-time classic. There was a lot of crazy stuff. But overall, when we think of WWE, think of politics.
Yeah. It feels like WWE. I think there's more merit to the conflict between Owens and Loomer, but if you saw them hanging out behind closed doors, you would still think they're friends. That's going to be my final analysis here. They don't agree. They don't agree with one another on certain things, but they're like, Sal, if you and I got in an argument, it's like sports talk radio crap. If Sal and I use different toothpaste, if he used Crest and I use a different brand, and we started arguing over it, we could genuinely disagree about what type of toothpaste we should use, but to then escalate that into like a major beef would be blowing it out of proportion. I think that's kind of the deal between Owens and Loomer. They disagree, but they don't actually hate each other the way that they're publicizing it.
It's social engineers on two separate sides of social engineering at two different people behind.
To me, it's more paid conflict. Actually, and there's people pulling the strings from the top who are saying, "All right, guys, fight's over. Fight's over." You know what I mean? Like
Magic Mario said, you like his comment? It's actually Rhea Ripley is the wrestler that looks like Laura Loomer.
Rhea Ripley?
Rhea Ripley and her makeup. Yeah, people. You don't know how many people have gotten to say, "Hey, Rhea Ripley reminds me of Laura Loomer." I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'm getting it up right now. I'm gonna let our audience decide for themselves if they think that Rhea Ripley looks like Laura Loomer. Personally, I think that Ripley's a lot more attractive than Loomer, just based on having a face that doesn't look like it's been totally screwed up and distorted.
I'm just saying, and I got a lot of people.
Yeah,
that kept
Ripley also has more of a style to her.
Yeah,
So
Ripley.
I think that comparison is a little bit inappropriate for Ripley because she's way more attractive than Loomer. But the last thing I want to touch on today, usually we use sports as like happy relief for everything going on in the world, but with the Mets on their longest losing streak in 2 decades, 11 games. They've bottomed out now, tied for the worst record in Major League Baseball, 7-15. I believe this team was going to underachieve at the beginning of the year, but on my bingo card, I did not have them losing 11 straight games in April. I did not have Juan Soto getting hurt on April 4th. I did not have them suffering from a barrage of injuries and losing this many one-run games and extra innings. I did not think Carlos Mendoza would look this incompetent. I did not think the first base scenario was going to be an unmitigated disaster. I did not think MJ Melendez was going to be their best hitter, provided the only offense with a solo home run. Yes. Like, do I have to continue any further? Yeah. This team is playing horribly right now. And yes, they're going to win a couple more baseball games. And yes, they're going to go on a run eventually. But the bottom line is, Sal, this squad is not who we thought they were or who we thought that they could be at the beginning of the year.
I don't know. Too bad. I mean, the Mets, they might have lost 11 in a row, but last year they had the opposite and then they tanked. So you would think that maybe they are tanking in the beginning and then show up later on, because that seems to be they're only 8 games under 500, so they can win 8 games in a row, and then all of a sudden you're back, and then you get all your people back, and next thing you know, you're taking off. I've seen that too many times in the last couple of years, so I still
it happens, but
it's just crazy.
Again, they're gonna play better baseball than what we've seen. They're gonna start to average more runs. They're gonna have some offensive explosions. It's going to happen eventually. But to sit here and say that this team is capable of going toe-to-toe with the Dodgers in October, or that they're any sort of real contender even in the National League, I'm not going to go further than saying that this is probably right now a 500 team at best.
For today. But I want to say this because I see this comment. The Mets have not won a game since Mamdani showed up. They are also 20-plus games under 500 since they put up a pride flag last year. I do want to say this. I didn't know the mayor. I guess he's a Met fan, but guess who else was a Met fan? The last mayor. Nobody had a problem then, right? So just before we go and start pointing fingers, the swagger man had no plan and was wearing Met hats. And then he infamously wore the Met and Yankee logo on his hat. When he was
yeah.
I don't know if people remember that. I do. I was like, what? What is this guy? But he says he was a Met fan. I didn't hear anybody crying back then. They couldn't win either with him as the mayor. So, and he showed up to the stadium. So I understand, again, Mamdani, I guess he's a Met fan, allegedly. So was the prior mayor. So, yeah, just to throw that out there. Also, Inter Milan, we did win. We won 3-0 against Cremonese. We're now 12 points clear of second place. One more win. And those teams either tie or whatever, that's the 21st Scudetto we clinched. So, and Thursday we're playing too. We're playing the Coppa Italia. But Inter Milan did win. So, good for Inter Milan, keeping the pressure, keep winning those games. I like to have my new jersey that says we won the championship. But so now to finish it off, if you guys join the Italian American Civil Rights League, go to iacrl.org. Go to iacrl.org. You could go and become a member. There's going to be new events coming up, I believe, in up New Jersey area, New York. It might be somewhere up north right now. In the eastern part, I'm not sure. There's also Chicago. So we'll see what's coming up. But keep up to date, IACRL. SalGreco.com. You like what you see? We have to do more. We want to do a lot more, but it's going to take support from you guys. So SalGreco.com. You can click the support button if you feel inclined to, or you want to buy some shirts, buy some stuff, or you could just watch the show, also read articles, do all of that great stuff, SalGreco.com. And then finally, SEOGinzo.com. SEOs, Ginzo.com. Go to that website. You have a website. You need help fixing your SEOs, fixing your website. You have this mega company or maybe a little company. You need help. SEOginzo.com. Tell them you're a friend of Sal. You get 10% discount off. They do excellent work. Because if you haven't gone to salgreco.com, they've helped revamp everything there. So SEOginzo.com. Tell them you're a friend of Sal. Also, salgreco.com. Go there, check out the website, click the support button, go and buy some nice shirts. And, of course, IACRL.org if you want to become a member of the Italian American Civil Rights League. So, Jack, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just happy that the Yankees pulled off a sweep over the weekend and are playing a lot better baseball than the Mets. I think we're hanging out in the penthouse. You guys are hanging out, in the outhouse for the time being. It's a sad story for New York, though, because at this time last year, we were already talking about a Subway Series. Now we're talking about one team making a run and the other being out by July. So hopefully the Mets are able to turn it around and play better baseball, because I think it's better for Major League Baseball as a whole, and definitely New York City when both teams are playing well.
Well, there you have it, folks. So listen, don't forget to follow us on X at the Sal Greco, on Instagram at the Sal Greco. On X for Jack, it's at J_Stern97. The same on Instagram. Of course, follow the show at the Sal Greco Show on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Rumble. Give us a like, share, subscribe. Rumble, you can hit the Rumble button, a like button, hit the notification button, follow us there as well. And I think there'll be more to come in the not so distant future. Check out for news updates starting after the show. Tuesday, Wednesday, into Thursday, we'll be back at 11:05 a.m. I hope this was very informative. I am as pro-cop as it comes, and so is Jack Stern. But what we want is there's got to be accountability and there's got to be change for the better, because you need to bridge those gaps. Bridge the gaps between the people, the communities you serve, and the police. It could be simple. It could be simplified. But again, we don't have the right kind of leadership right now, especially in the NYPD. And there's other departments too, and we'll get to those soon. So stay tuned, folks. So once again, check out the Sal Greco shows. We'll be having a lot more news updates on a lot of stuff coming soon. But we'll be back at Thursday at 11:05 a.m. I hope everybody has a good rest of your Monday and a good week. So, Jack.
Yeah, we're signing off from what has now become beautiful sunny South Florida. It was raining earlier, which, as all of you guys know, is a sunny place for very shady people.
What I'm asking New Yorkers for is to look back at all the things I've done as a deputy commissioner for operations, as assistant commissioner, and my time as a not only as a New Yorker but as a police officer. I get stuff done.
Listen, there was a book that came out that Jasmine Ray wrote, and in the Daily News today, it stated that there was a sexual action that happened in Borough Hall. She reported in that book, and it wasn't. You're a dark, sick person, man. You know that? You're a dark, sick person. Your name was on the byline. And there's some of you that have been covering me. You guys could part. Let me do this. Y'all could depart. Some of you have been covering me for 3.5 years. Some of you are so sick and dark, and you're the leader of that. You're one of the most dark writers that I've ever seen in this city. And your personal sick vendetta and the sickness of how you think of over-sexualizing a black man, that in the book is stated that there was a sexual action in Borough Hall. That was never in the book. But that's typical of the sickness and the darkness of your sick mind. You're one of the sickest reporters I know. Go to the next question. You're a sick person.